Live from Kent, this is The Late Late Show with Toby Payne-Cook and Ed Finch. And you are listening live.
Good evening, it's Wednesday, it's 9 p.m. and it's time for me and Ed in Devon, me in Kent. We're going to talk books. We're not going to talk books, we're not going to talk at all. We're not talking about books. We're going to talk words. I am trying to be near the microphone tonight because I'm heard over this loud, booming intro music. Anyway, I haven't checked that Ed's going to join me tonight, so hopefully he will.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live. Tune in live at ttradio.org or join in the conversation by downloading the Podbean app and following Teachers Talk Radio. Hashtag TT Radio.
Good evening, Ed. Oh, am I?
What? Oi!
Oi! There he is. He's getting louder.
Good evening.
He's fading himself in.
I'm
Fading
here.
in.
Okay, well, I'll stand nearer the telephone, shall I? Is that a plan?
The
Who have we got in the
telephone.
room?
We've got in the room. Good evening, Lucy. Good evening, Tim. Good
Nice.
evening, Christine. And good
yes.
evening, you. CPD, CC Yaff.
We have. What a name! What a name!
is.
A name to conjure with.
It's
that
a
is.
rubbish word. It's a rubbish word.
Well, it's
CPD,
all about
CC
words,
Yaff.
you know. But I tell you what, before we get on to words, let's have some meaningless chit chat because I don't believe we can get a whole hour out of a words gig. I don't know. Are you thinking? Are you confident?
I don't think we can. No, I'm not sure. I think you could get several hours out of it on Twitter on Saturday.
Yeah, well, I think it's a very interesting program. If it's me reading the entire thread, I mean, I'm happy to. If that's what people want,
No,
I
but
could
we
read it very
can.
slowly.
We can. There's one or two words I want to rant about. Am I
Really?
just to listen to these people listening? Am I echoing a bit? I've changed
You are,
rooms
yeah.
again.
No, you sound like you've got a reverb on there to give it a bit of a churchy feel.
Yes, I am the church of my kitchen, which
I don't know
doesn't
if
have
people
much
can hear
fabric
me
in it.
stirring my hot chocolate, by the way. If people were disturbed by the noise, that's what it is.
I liked it. We listened to you slurping soup last week. Oh, look at that. A bit of alliteration. Slurping soup. And now you are stirring hot chocolate, which doesn't alliterate at all.
There because
Yeah.
it's in
No, you're
the-
right. Let's not talk words quite yet. We are going to be talking about words tonight. But everything all right with you down in Devon, Ned?
I'd say so. It's possible. I could do with it being a little bit warmer. If I'm very
It's still
honest.
January. It's still January, which technically went into room 101 last week.
Yeah.
So
The
we are
heating
down.
in my car has decided that it doesn't really like being on, is what I'd say.
Oh.
As a result, it takes a damn long time in the morning to be. I mean, basically, it says on the dashboard that it's -7. Was this morning when I was driving to work, -7? It said on the dashboard, and it was no warmer in the car than it was out. So,
We've got some extra people in, Ed. We've got. Sorry, I'm sorry to hear about your car heating. By the way, I'm not ignoring you.
Who have we got in the room?
We've got Mr. Shoe, and Pat Link, and Tom Rogers is in now as well.
Tom.
I don't know. Mr. Shoe has replied talking about alliterative drink. What was it last week? Quaffing coffee. Tom is sending us a message as well. Good evening. Hey. Pat Link. Hi guys. Who else? There's someone who's pulled down. We've got an unprecedented amount of live listeners for the start of the show, Ed.
I'm all starstruck now. I don't know what to do.
Now Maxim's in. Maxim, he was in last week. Hello, Maxim. How are you doing up there in the Isle of Man?
Yeah, well, all-star cast of listeners in the room. We better try to be entertaining, I suppose.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, we better try and be entertaining.
We've got a cracking tune or two. I tell you what, we've lined up some pretty hot tunes for the show, so let's not let them get squeezed out.
No, do you want to start with one?
I could do. I could start with one.
Yeah.
Well, I say I could start with one. You have to give me a minute. Go on. Talk nonsense for about a minute while I just make sure that
I haven't got much to report. I've had quite a quiet weekend. It was a solo weekend for me. So this coming weekend is a dad weekend. It was a solo weekend, but I did quite a lot of cooking at the weekend. And I did post some of that on Twitter. I get a bit annoyed with using Twitter to show off our own things, and so I'm very guilty of that. Sorry, everybody. But yeah, and I've enjoyed cooking. I've posted something tonight. I cooked a delicious batch of risotto tonight. That's what I've been into. I have been mostly cooking interesting food for myself or my daughters and putting some in the freezer as well. So before we launch into our word talk, Ed is going to play us a word-themed song on... What are you going to play it on, Ed? Ukulele or guitar?
I'm going to play on a Washburn 12-string guitar, if that's all right.
Wow.
Only I can't find it. Hang on a sec. I had it. What's it called, that song?
Which one?
Well, I don't want to give it away is the thing, because it's always an exciting moment for the audience when they finally figure out what it is. I'm terribly...
Are you playing the best song that we came up with already? Is it the opposite of down?
No, that one's for after the break when I found a ukulele and worked out the chords.
Okay. Which one are we doing then? Are you doing not doing the extreme song, are you?
No, that's got loads of difficult chords and it's really hard to sing. My friend
really
Jules, who I don't know if you do remember, I used to live right next door to him through lockdown, and we decided we were a bubble, really. And he loves that song, but I find it very hard to sing. No, I was going to go for a bit of Boyzone / Bee Gees.
Okay, Boyzone Bee Gees. Boyzone Bee Gees. Here we go.
You can sing along if you like.
What's the song title? I'm trying to look up the...
Everlasting smile. A smile can bring you near to me. Don't ever let me find you gone, 'cause that would bring a tear to me. Is it going well?
It's going great.
This world has lost its glory. Let's start a brand new story now, my love. You think that I don't even mean a single word I say. Join in with this bit. It's
only words, and words are all I have to take your heart away.
You want verse 2?
Yeah.
Talk in everlasting words and dedicate them all to me, and I will give you all my life. I'm there if you should call on me. You think that I don't even mean a single word I say. It's
only words, and words are all I have to take your heart away.
You want verse 3?
Do you know?
That's enough, is it?
It's only words.
Words are all I have to take your heart away. Stands up from the bar stool, walks towards the camera, smiles coquettishly. Rain falls. Excellent.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Okay.
People were blown away. Ed, I didn't know you could sing like that. That was beautiful. Beautiful.
It was.
Won a pen once with this song. Maxim, how did you win a pen with that song? I need the story. I need it now.
Yes, hang on. Yes, how did you... Yes, come on, Maxim. You need to type into the chat and tell us how you won a pen with this song. Good. Ed.
On the karaoke. Could be. Could be he won.
So, Ed, you need to talk. You need to introduce our word chat now.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. If you hadn't noticed, I mean, you may not have done, because why would you have done? On the Twitters, after a little short conversation on this program last week, I dropped in a suggestion. I asked people what is a word that they love, and if possible, could they tell us why? And I asked them for a word that makes their skin crawl. So, I mean, the way into this is that it's absolute bobbins. I think that's the way into it. Absolute bobbins. people say they like words, but they seem mostly to like the meaning of the words, I think, rather
The
than the
meaning or the
words.
sound of the word
I
rather
think there's
than
two ways to
the
go there, because
definition.
yeah, and yes, mostly people seem to be liking words that have a happy association for them.
Yes.
So people like, here we go. My lovely friend Nicole, who doesn't listen to the show, so I don't think she's going to take any offence. She says the word scrutiny makes my skin crawl. Does scrutiny, is it the word, do you think, or she's had some bad experiences with
Exactly.
book scrutiny and things?
Yeah, scrutiny
What's the
is
problem with the
it,
word? Is there something with the word that makes us feel icky? I don't think so. I think scrutiny and your back goes up because somebody was very rude when they looked at your English books and pointed out you hadn't marked them for a term or something. She says that
mm,
she likes these words. So these are words that she likes. She likes a hoo-ha and a kerfuffle. Now, they are
kerfuffle is a
quite
fun
confusing
word, isn't
words,
it?
but I know Nicole, I know that she does like a hoo-ha and a kerfuffle, quite apart from the sound of the words. So, I mean, so people, anybody who's managed to find the thread is scrolling down will see that I replied to her, I know you do, because she loves. Um, there's a lot of people saying that they like certain words that I kind of think, I don't really think you like the words. I think you like the meaning. So, how about this one? Our friend Boundless Learning Limited, she says she likes the word mellifluous. Is
It
that the
is a nice
sound of the
word.
word she's enjoying, or is that the association of the word, do you think?
I enjoyed using mellifluous in my writing the other day. I think I replied to her. Mellifluous is it's not a word we use very often, is it? Um, what I've
Right.
been thinking about
Yeah,
and what I was going to talk about, but I'll let you carry on for a bit, is
yeah.
that I think some words I like written down, and some words I like to use in speech. And there's
Mhm.
actually some words that, like, for example, I like the word nebulous. I like using the word nebulous to describe things that are nebulous and not clear and a bit sort of, well, a bit indecisive, a bit shades of grey, a bit, things a bit nebulous. But I don't use that in writing very often because it's a sort of conversational word. And I think
Mhm.
I think I think that's quite interesting. And some people said they didn't like the word myriad. They don't like the word
Mhm.
myriad, but myriad, when you say it, doesn't sound great. But it's quite good written down
I like that one.
because it's a quite a different way of saying
Yes.
various and lots of or many or multiple, isn't it? It's a more interesting way of
Yeah.
saying that sometimes. So I think that's what I've been thinking about since the very scholarly thread that happened on the twits.
Well,
What do you think
I'm
about
not
that? The
enjoying
writing
this
down
word
versus
scholarly.
the mellifluous is good written down, and then
Mhm.
but it also sounds nice because it sounds sort of as it means, doesn't it? I suppose.
That's
But
it.
I think as a scientist, we can get over analytical about all this sort of stuff because
Yeah.
it's
Well, I
all
mean,
very
so
subjective. It's
there
all
were
very
lots of
subjective.
terrific words on the thread. There were lots of terrific words. So Sue O'Malley said, I love brouhaha. Brouhaha is a great word. And also shenanigans. So those are terrific words to say, to write, whatever. Brouhaha and shenanigans. But is she liking them because of the sound of them? Is she liking them because she enjoys a brouhaha? Maybe. I mean, we all enjoy a bit of shenanigans. At least I know I do. Uh,
Shenanigans is a great. Shenanigans conjures up exactly what it is, though, doesn't it? It's a
That's how
very
words
it's
work, mate. That's what them new table conjures up exactly what it is. It's the
no,
word.
no, no, no. But table doesn't. Shenanigans is quite onomatopoeic, isn't it? Isn't
I
it?
hear you saying that, but I take issue with it. I don't really know. If it was a new word and somebody said, I've got this new word, it's brilliant. The word is shenanigans. What do you think it means? I don't know. I don't know. Is it part of the cell membrane? I don't know what it is. I don't think I would know. But
Good point.
you know,
Okay,
I'll tell you what,
it's
more fun to look at was the words that people said they really, really, really didn't like, actually. Because I think it's clearer there. Um, where people say, so some of the words people said they didn't like were detritus. And I think, what's the word? What's wrong with detritus? Somebody said they didn't like the word mucous membrane, and I thought we're getting close to
that's
it
two
here.
words.
People, one, it's two words, but two, I think what you're really telling me is that you don't like neither mucus nor membranes, because I genuinely don't think so. The most popular one, and you can predict this. I think we knew it already, but it came out very, very, very strongly on a thread. The most unpopular word in the English language in
Is.
the a rather strange set of people that replied by a long way, though, by
Yeah.
such a long way, was moist. Lots of people saying that the word moist, oh, it makes their skin itch, oh, it makes their skin crawl. The word moist, oh, it's just awful.
But then that's the where culture kicks in, isn't it? So in the same way that people can tell you, you know, Henry VIII's wives, whatever it is, divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived, and people can tell you that 1066 was the Battle of Hastings. People can sort of tell you that moist is their least favourite word because it sounds horrible, and so
But
it's
does
sort
it
of
sound horrible, Mr. Paincook? Does it? Do
well, I
people
don't
have a
know. I don't know.
problem
But what I mean
with-
is, it's entered the cultural vernacular that moist
the
is
word
an
you're not
unpleasant sounding word. Whether it really is an unpleasant sounding word, or whether people really truly believe it to be so, is neither here nor there. The
Well,
fact
I
is,
think people
it's sort
believe
of
it. Yeah. Well, I think people believe that it's an unpleasant word, and I think they believe they have that reaction to it. And if that's their truth, I'm not here to tell them they're wrong, although they are, because none of them seem to have a similar issue with hoist, or joist. Is it oist? What's the problem? Is there something about an oist sound with a m in front of it? Well, that's ridiculous.
well. Also,
A
I mean,
muz
moist
is
is
pleasant.
generally a good
Mellifluous, lots of
thing. I
people say
mean,
like mellifluous.
you
I mean,
know,
obviously, mucous membrane gives us two m, so maybe there is a problem with m. But I think lots of
but just to kind of pick up on the meaning of moist. You know, it's a good thing, isn't it? It's certainly better than dry.
well, I think now. I think a
Being a
lot of
little
people.
lewd.
I'm not going to be lewd, but I think in general, I feel that lots of people were, lots of people seem to not like things that have anything to do with mucus, regardless of where that mucus. I mean, we have mucous membranes in many part of our bodies. I'm sure you know, Toby. It's not
Yes.
purely in the downstairs area. Don't like snot. They don't like greb. They don't like bogies. They don't like. There's a whole lot of words that they don't.
Spunk is probably not very popular either.
Oh, I think it's terrific. My mother used to use the word spunk in its what she
Oh,
thought
yes,
was
okay, all right.
form. She thought that my mother, who's passed away 10 years ago, now, so I think I'm allowed to say it. She had a big crush on Sandra Bullock. I don't know if you
Did
remember when
she?
Sandra Bullock came to the fore in the movie Speed.
Yes.
My mother was instantly very convinced by her acting talent. I believe she went to see that film more than once because she thought Sandra really was superstar. She did an awful rom-com where she was like stalking some guy in a coma. Do you remember? I think it might have been called While You Were Sleeping. She sort of like I can't remember.
Don't
She
think I've
was
seen
involved
it.
in this car accident. The guy went to hospital. He was in a coma. She started masquerading as his girlfriend. His family accepted her and took them to their bosoms. It was how amusing that she got herself in this situation. Of course, it turned out right when he came round from his coma and was instantly fine. He fell straight in love with her. It was great. If it had been gender reversed, I think it might have been quite creepy. Anyway. My mother thought that she was terrific in that as well, and took me to see it because she thought I would enjoy it so much, and I did because who doesn't enjoy the young Sandra Bullock? But nonetheless, how did I get onto this?
I mentioned the word spunk, and you suddenly thought of Sandra
Anyway,
Bullock.
my mother would have said on many occasions that he thought Sandra Bullock was very spunky, which in my youth, because I was a young man at the time, I thought was quite amusing.
Yes.
Anyway, more favourite
Spunky.
words.
My mum
Ethereal
used to always use
and
the word spunky as well, actually. That's
Okay.
interesting. So, because if I say the word spunk, it is as rude as Tom Rogers inferred it was in the chat. And hello, Janavi from
He
India
did
as
say we're not
well.
allowed to say that.
No,
Should
he
we
didn't
not
tell
say
us off. No, but I think spunky. I remember Amanda's mother using that.
Yeah.
My mum using it. Spunky is a word
I
that
think
that
people of that generation, because I think I think we're
yeah.
much too much of a generation, really, in a way. I think yes, spunk and spunky. Oh, he's full of fun, and it did mean that. It's true. I don't know when it. I don't know the relation. It might be that the two meanings ran alongside each other. I wanted to get on to some words from other languages that I really
Oh, you like
like.
Scottish ones, don't you?
So, well, I do, and I said in the thread here. So, my wife was a Scot, and my mum was a Scot. I don't think I quite get accepted as a Scot myself, but and so lots of great Scots words like ocht and wisht and drich all came up in the track. Miss Saeed, who's Safe Senko, gave us some beautiful Urdu words. Atish Fisher, meaning volcano, but it's just a lovely word to say, and it feels nice to say and hear, in my opinion. Where is that word? There's a French word. I'm scrolling up, looking. This isn't very professional. Oh, tell you what, Get Real. I don't know who Get Real is, but the word archipelago. Yes, that's a great word, isn't it?
Well, archipelago is a good word, actually, isn't it? And peninsula, I think. Words archipelago describing lots of sort of a string of islands, isn't that archipelago? And I like peninsula as well, which is almost an island, but it's got one land border, hasn't it?
You could sort of work on it and try and convince yourself that archipelago is like an archipelago because it's got archipelago and they're quite hard consonants at the start and stuff. It's nonsense. It just sounds fun. But Mr. N_Moose, I have no idea who N_Moose is. I don't think it's someone we know, but they have given us this fantastic French word which I have not come across before. It means superfluous in French, but in a fancy way. You can use it instead of superflu. And here's the word: it's superfétatoire. Superfétatoire. I don't know. I'm saying it right. Say super. You go.
Super. Super. Me.
Superfétatoire. That is good, isn't it? Superfétatoire means
superfétatoire.
Yeah, isn't that a great word?
Yes.
Love it. Love that word.
Superfétatoire. What's it mean?
Yeah. It means superfluous, but like in a fancy way. So instead of just saying superflu, which means superfluous, you can say superfétatoire, meaning it's really superfluous. It's not a word I'm going to.
Ed, you said we couldn't fill an hour of this. I think it's going well. You were wrong.
And skedaddle. Spoon. Spoon. What a word. Spoon. Let's all say it together. Out there in Radio Land, I'm going to count you in and we're all going to say spoon wherever we are around the world. 1, 2, 3.
Spoon.
Love it. Preposterous.
Preposterous.
Here's a word which came up more than once, I think 3 or 4 times. Susurrus or susurration.
Yes.
The sound of susurration. It's a great. That is an onomatopoeic word, isn't it? That really is the sound of the wind in the trees.
Yes.
Susurration.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then some.
And murmuration. Was that in there? I think the murmuration of starlings.
Starlings, mate. Starlings, yes. Starlings.
Yeah.
Starlings were there. You can only usually think of the one, can't you? The moustache and the taxi driver's hat. A murmuration of starlings. One was enough.
Yeah. And then yes,
a word that I don't know. I don't even know what it means. But S Phoenix or Shrenix, Nick Owen. Nick, when people put 78 after the name, you presume that's when they were born, don't you? Phoenix,
yes.
78. Yeah. I wonder if I could be wrong. Anyway, she says that she loves the word lollygagging. A word I love.
That sounds rude.
It just makes me laugh saying it. But it sounds like absolute filth to me.
It does sound filth. Lollygagging sounds like a sort of
lollygagging.
I'm into lollygagging when I can't find a spunky instrument. I like to do some lollygagging instead.
Don't say that. You go too far. Phenomenon, says Dr. Rachel Helm.
Phenomenon. Phenomenon.
I tell you what, 99%, that's Nazia, ticked all my boxes. She said she likes the word Mississippi, and I love the word Mississippi because I can write it without taking my pen off the paper, and then I can go back along it and put the 4 dots in. MISSISSIPPI ... Bit of a love it.
And Mrs. Sippy, that sounds a bit rude as well, though, doesn't it?
Well, if you're going to go that way, right? Do you want some posh? Some posh words. Some posh words from James Hanscom, who's a very clever man. Curmudgeonly.
Yeah, good word. Or I think, as much as I
Serendipity.
love Neil Young's music, curmudgeonly's good for the, and Damon Albarn's quite curmudgeonly. You know, these sort of musicians who don't really like being interviewed about their craft or their art, and they're a bit awkward when they're interviewed, or but yet they write the most wonderful songs and lyrics, and but they can be quite curmudgeonly. It's a good word, curmudgeonly. I do it. Well, it describes. Yes. Oops. What am I doing? I'm playing around with the screen and I'm trying to spool. I'm sorry. Carry on, Ed.
I could just go on down this thread forever and ever, just out reading out words and enjoying them.
I bookmarked a few as well, so I think I would do that because I've got a few words I want to talk about, a couple I want to be rude about, and then I've got Susie Dent's emotional dictionary, which I've just looked up a few words in, which is quite fun.
Go on to that, but I actually have a question out of this. It's a word that I first came across a couple of weeks ago when I shared a photograph of the not very much snow outside my house.
Yeah.
And people said to me, I was being. I think that I was implied that I was being nesh, right?
Nesh.
Now that word's come up again in this chat. I love the word bairn and nesh and mithered. Now I think they're Scots words in terms of bairn and mithered, but nesh I don't know as a Scots word. It seems to mean weak or cowardly, perhaps. Is anybody out there in Radio Land, anybody listening, able to drop into the chat what they think nesh means, or maybe they've got access to some sort of dictionary thing? I don't know.
Nesh. I'm not sure. I mean, talking of people out there in Radio Land,
go a long way down with favourite country names. I think, for example, Tajikistan is the best country for name.
Is it?
Tajikistan. What country's got a better name?
I don't know. On the spot.
Everyone.
I haven't got a favourite country name. That's it's something I've never thought about. But
you need to get one.
I don't think it's one of the long ones. I don't like too many syllables. I think it might be something.
St. Kitts.
Denmark, or Senegal, or Mali, or Peru. Peru's good.
Which country has got the best name?
Dunno.
He says dunno. Useless. He used to help.
That's not a country, Douglas. Not an answer.
Well, come back when you got an answer to that, please.
But in the thread, not in the thread, in the chat, we have some words. Pac-Man is looking for scholarship, and he says he's from Ghana, and he's given us his WhatsApp number, and he's just tried joining. Hello, Pac-Man. Welcome to the show. We're not going to invite you to join in because Ed and I are megalomaniacs, and we like to talk to ourselves and no one else really. And bizarrely, some people like to listen to us talking to each other. So, but thank you for joining. Maxim, I always return to the first 100 sight words. Bloody love those.
Oh yes, the Dolch list. That Dolch, he knew how to put together a list, didn't he? Yes, he did.
Did he? This is where, not being a primary school English teacher or phonics teacher or whatever, I'm not totally ingrained in this. I know kind of what it is, but no, enlighten me, Ed.
Okay, here we go, because we can put a beat behind this, and I can do your first 95 words maybe as a rap or something. A and away, big blue can come down, find four, funny go, help here, I in is it, jump little look, make me my not one, play red run, see the sea, 2 C's there, 3 2 up, we wear yellow you. It's great. I mean,
it's good.
But honestly, it's not as good as the 95 Dolch list.
It's not Tom Lehrer doing the elements, the periodic table, chemical elements.
I think we should have a go. So, so Dolch does he's got his list of non-nouns and his list of nouns, and I think apple, baby, back, bull, bear, bed, bell, bird, birthday, boat, box, boy, bread, brother. That's the B's. Cake, car, cat, chair, chicken, children, Christmas, coat, corn, cow, day, dog, doll, door, duck. That's the D's there. Egg, eye, farm, farmer. It's a very odd list because
you've done this before.
No, I haven't.
Well, you're doing it brilliantly. I'm lapping this up, Ed. Keep going.
They love it out there. So, but yeah, so Dolch supposedly, analysed a massive corpus of writing to find out what were the words that were most useful or most used.
Yeah.
And in that list, he's got dark egg, farm, farmer, squirrel, snow,
squirrel,
rabbit, rain, ring, robin, Santa Claus, school, seed, sheep. Like, I don't think your corpus was very well researched.
I don't know though, dude. When children are first learning words and learning things, particularly growing up in rural part of the world, probably not urban city folk, but you do learn the names of animals really early on. If you're a farmer, if you're from a farming area, so I can see that.
Some of the kids at my school can only learn in the context of beasts.
Yeah, exactly.
You say, what is... I've got a good joke coming up, hands out. If you go, what's 4 sheep plus 3 sheep? They say 7 sheep. I said to one, there's 99 sheep in the field, okay? One finds a little gap in a hedge and it wiggles through and out it goes. How many sheep have you got in the field? He said, none. I said, you don't know much about maths, do you? He said, you don't know anything about sheep.
Sheep. That's a brilliant joke. Excellent. Is that Adam Hill's joke?
I don't know. I've known that joke for a great deal longer than I've known Adam. That's a cracking joke, though, isn't it?
It's a good joke. It's a really good joke. Right, Ed.
The highlight of the show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. You can log off now. You've had my one good joke.
Are you not going to go to F's and stuff, and then we'll do the news?
Can do if there's a hunger for it.
Oh, there is a hunger for it because it's filling time in our word show.
Oh, come on, we can press. Where have we got to? F.
Yeah, F.
Here we go. Farm, farmer, father, feet, fire, fish, floor. Flower, game, garden, girl. Goodbye, grass, ground. Hand, head, hill, home, horse, house, kitty. Leg, letter, man, men, milk, money, morning. Mother, name, nest, night. Party, picture, pig, rabbit, rain. Ring, robin, Santa Claus, school, seed, sheep. Shoe, sister, snow, song, squirrel, stick, street. Sun, table, thing, time, top, toy, tree. Watch, water, way, wind, window. Slightly naughty word, wood.
Spunky wood. Let's go to the news. Thank you, Maxim. It could be a sellable resource, Ed, as Maxim has said. Okay, everyone. So we've got some adverts and some news and a little bit of a tech update. We'll be back in 8 minutes for more word talk, it's difficult to do talk without words. So just more talk. Bye.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, a leading publisher of books, directories, educational guides and magazines specifically aimed at forward-thinking schools in the UK and beyond. Have you checked out their latest releases? Don't miss out. Visit johncattbookshop.com to explore their full range of titles and advance your own professional development today. Happy reading.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News.
The Christian Institute website carries a story on the reminder by Minister of State for Schools Nick Gibb that schools in England have a duty to remain politically impartial in their teaching and extracurricular activities. The guidance was published last year, but Mr Gibb was responding to MP Miriam Cates' references to a YouGov poll, which appears to reveal that the majority of UK children are being taught political ideology as fact, and he issued the reminder. Ms Cates was referencing a view that children are being taught that they can be born in the wrong body, as well as resources being used in schools which focus on the topic of gender identity. The DfE guidance comes as Scotland attempts to introduce new legislation on gender recognition, which is opposed by Westminster. The guidance states that schools should not under any circumstances work with or use materials produced by external agencies that take extreme political positions. The Varsity website reports on findings by a right-wing think tank that elite universities were more likely to use progressive terminology on their websites. Cambridge tops the table in the Radical Progressive University Guide, although the think tank Civitas does not appear to see this as a positive. Varsity highlights comments reported in the Daily Mail, which warned that half of our universities peddle their woke agenda to students. The think tank generated the findings after exploring university websites and news reports, looking for a series of key phrases including trigger warning, white privilege, and anti-racism. Those with high incidences of key phrases were at the top of the table. Varsity acknowledges a view that Cambridge's political culture is to the left of the national one, but also highlights key figures in academia who feature prominently in the conservative press. It's hard to stay away from politics as announcements of strikes continued late last week. The TES reports on the continued deadlock in Scotland, whilst the Evening Standard covers talks between ministers and unions in England after the NEU confirmed strike dates for the coming weeks and months. These strikes are set to impact schools in England and Wales, although the BBC further reports on talks in Wales. Its news website reports that teachers and school leaders have been offered a one-off payment by the Welsh Government, similar to that offered to health workers, although unions have already said that the offer is not enough. Scottish media outlets have also carried a story about what it describes as fears about violence in schools. A clip now widely shared on social media shows an altercation between two students and that took place on the same day a male pupil was left unconscious following an assault. Whilst Police Scotland have said it's investigating both incidents, has sparked debate on the state of behaviour in schools, particularly as such incidents have featured in headlines before. The Scottish Government has previously stated they're investing an additional £15 million this year to enhance capacity to effectively meet the needs of young people, and that they were very clear that violence is unacceptable. In further political news, the petition put forward by three men known as the Three Dads Walking will go to Parliament. The men, who all lost daughters to suicide, want to get suicide prevention on the school curriculum. The petition they set up now has more than 155,000 signatures, which means that it will be discussed in Parliament, after previously failing to be heard. Finally, more than 20,000 defibrillators will be sent to almost 18,000 state-funded schools by the end of the academic year. It comes after the government committed to ensuring there was a device in every school last year. The rollout comes after campaigning from the Oliver King Foundation and its founder Mark King, whose son died at 12 from a cardiac arrest while swimming at school. Guidance to support schools has been created, including awareness videos, and Education Secretary Gillian Keegan praised the work of the Oliver King Foundation and described the rollout as a huge milestone. Mr. King stated, "Defibrillators save lives," and that he hoped that families do not have to suffer the heartbreak of unnecessarily losing a child. This is for our Ollie. This has been your Teachers Talk Radio News with Joe Fox.
This is 2 Minute Tech with Steve Woods, your tech briefing on Teachers Talk Radio.
Hello, a while ago I asked you what is your go-to piece of tech. This week I had the pleasure of talking to Ian Kenyon, CEO of Wirral Respite and Alternative Provision, also known as RAP for short. So, Ian, what is your go-to piece of tech in your setting?
Thanks, Steve. In our organisation, we are absolutely embedded in sharing our information and our data via the cloud. And there's loads of software out there to do it. And there's a lot of bespoke software for our type of organisation, student information management services, the likes of SIMS or Arbor or things like that. But unfortunately, they're built around big organisations, big schools, schools with up to 1,200 students. Certainly not for schools that have a turnaround of students who are completing courses in 12 weeks, and those students who are potentially returning but require new files. We've tried proprietary software. It's very, very expensive. But actually what we've fallen back to is what Google provides. Using G Suite, which is now Google Workplace, we have access to spreadsheets, to form filling software for data collection, Google Docs, which is, you're very familiar with everything via traditional Microsoft Offices. Being able to link docs and sheets and forms together has been almost transformational for our organisation. It's not the cheapest. I will say the per user price matches what other software like Zoho or Microsoft will do, but offers a simpler version for us. And offers us some interactivity that we've never had before. It handles our email, it handles our student information, so gathering attendance, it handles our finance, so invoicing. The way that the suite works, the way that the package works, just works really well for us. But with very little additional investment in time, effort and training, Google offers us everything that we need. The final sort of element that has been transformational for us is then being able to use proprietary hardware such as Chromebooks or even Android phones, and the ability for us to then transfer our data and to be live in the cloud at all times has been a really good thing for our organisation. So there you have it. My number one go-to, it's definitely got to be Google Workplace.
Thank you, Ian. As always, I'd love to hear what you want to know about tech. Do you have a go-to piece of tech? Let us know at TT Radio Official. I'm Steve Woods, and that was 2 Minute Tech.
2 Minute Tech with Steve Woods, your tech briefing on Teachers Talk Radio.
Good evening, and we're back in the room, and we have been talking a lot about words, and I've still got lots more to say. Ed, how many more songs have you got for us? Have you got just one more or two more?
I mean, maybe somebody in the chat would like to suggest a song, but it would have to have words in it. I guess most songs do have. I had one prepared, but if there's another one out there,
should we leave the one you've got prepared for the end then? Shall we? For the nail.
We can do that.
Yeah. Do you?
Just want to shout out before we move on from the sort of the thread, which has been rich pickings. Can I just say, lots of people loving the word discombobulated. So let's just enjoy
talk about that
momentarily.
Yes,
discombobulated.
A lot of people like discombobulated. Now, I remember when I did my PGCE, a 7 to 14, so I did a secondary placement in the science department and a primary placement in year 6, actually. And I remember being in year 6, and I don't know whether I was teaching when the more adventurous writers in year 6, had recently discovered the word discombobulated, and it was everywhere, bloody where. And for that reason, I don't really like it because it does sound great. Discombobulated sounds great, but have you seen it in much adult writing in fiction?
No, it's one of the stunt words. My
It's a
friend
stunt
Kate,
word.
who is not listening tonight, but she was trying out lots of words. She's trying to expand her vocabulary. So she's got some app on her phone which tries to teach her 5 words
New
a day.
words. Yeah.
And it was like, well, I said, well, what's the point of learning this? These aren't words you're ever going to use. Pusillanimous, sycophantic.
Exactly. And so when you're writing in year 5 or 6, and probably year 7 as well, Daniel Bundred has joined us. Good evening, Daniel. So he can talk to us about year 7 writers as a secondary English teacher, I believe. But there's a lot of words packed in sometimes. Too many adverbs, too many adjectives, and
It's a giveaway. I tell you what. Do you remember a book called Driving Over Lemons by Chris Stewart? He's a guy he was the original drummer for Genesis when they were still all at school, and then he got kicked out and they got Phil Collins in, and since then he's been a sheep farmer and a sheep shearer. He's had an interesting life, and he got enough money to buy a little small holding somewhere in southern Spain and wrote this book about setting up this little farm in the mountains. Beautiful book, except he can't really write. It sounds like good writing, except it just isn't quite right. And I'm talking about the late 90s that I read this book, and it stayed with me for over 20 years. My extreme irritation that he used the word mephitic twice in one book. Mephitic is a word which you can use once, all right? My friend Carl is a drummer. He used to have one of those hexagonal electronic drums that goes boo. Yeah.
Oh yes.
He says you can use it once in a set. You take it to the gig, you get it out of the bag, you set it up, you plug it in, you do all that. You can use it once. Boo! If you do that, the audience will love it. If you play it more than once,
absolutely. Less is more with words and with drums. Charlie Watts could create quite a groovy, swingy, wonderful sound with a very minimalist kit. Whereas, yes, those big sort of heavy metal.
But this is the curse of primary school writing, which is kind of off the beaten track of what we were meant to be talking about.
Well, no, I think I was hoping we might talk about this for a few minutes.
On the wall, here some child has written a lovely, honest, plain, declarative sentence, and then the teacher comes along and says, "Oh, I wonder if you could think of another adverb to squeeze in there. And don't you think it'd be interesting to expand that noun into a noun phrase? Let's think if we can see if we can find a more interesting reporting verb. Said is dead. Why don't we say he, and they turn his writing into soup, and it just doesn't work. Actually it doesn't work, and it doesn't even, I don't believe, help you get your greater depth at year 6, because what helps you get your greater depth at year 6, if people give them monkeys about that, I'm not sure I do, but if they do, then it's it's writing effectively for audience is always going to be that trumps it anyway. Mephitic. I mean, a lot of the words they love.
That's what I was going to ask about writing. Actually on the subject. We're obviously talking about words and alone and words as standalone things, but of course words, appear together in sentences and on the page in writing, and that's where we see them and we learn them and we encounter them, and it's kind of, do we in education, in teaching, I mean, I think I remember a discussion on Twitter about a year and a half ago, probably with Christopher Such, who's written his book about, he really knows a lot about primary reading, doesn't he? And as I know you do too, of course, Ed. But and I think there's a general thing that we probably try and dive into writing too soon with children and don't do enough reading, because of course we all know the more you read, the better you speak, the better you write, and
it's on a sea of talk, we say. It's one of the things that you're guaranteed to hear when you go to training. It's absolutely true. I had to remind myself that this morning. I'm teaching the 3 most able year 2s come to my office every morning for an hour, and we do some dreary materials from Read Write Inc. And I'm like, you go, do you know what? We just don't need to rush to the composition here. Let's make sure we can all tell this story and enjoy telling this story. Because then when we go away to write it, we might actually enjoy writing it, as if we sprint away. So this morning we were doing proper classic Pi Corbett talk for writing in preparation for writing our own versions of chicken licking. It doesn't say that in the materials, but I think if you don't do it, they need to know what they're writing. But anyway.
Yeah. But I think would it be, in terms of, would it be better, I'm being idealistic here or utopian, but be better to do, because I know lots of words now, because I read a lot and I talk to interesting people. Whereas, when I was 7 or 11 or even 18, frankly, I didn't encounter many interesting words because I didn't read, books. So would it be better to sort of split the two out in education and do a little bit of writing with a simple vocabulary list, but then just explore words and write sentences, like allegedly Winston Churchill spent 3 years repeating year 9 or whatever the third form would have been called at Harrow or whatever he was. But until you can construct a good sentence, what is the point in trying to construct a story unless you're telling it? I mean, I think telling a story is different to writing a story, of course.
I mean, I'm sure I've mentioned before, the school I worked at back in Oxfordshire before I moved down here to Devon, we developed our storytelling curriculum, and it, the children were speaking in extended forms, and different tenses were being called from them because they needed to use different tenses to tell stories. They needed language of storytelling. So all of that was being developed orally, and it was turning up in their writing, and we could see it. And then they changed do you remember the 1 year they changed the way they were going to judge year 6 writing, and suddenly it was absolutely all about the spag, and at that point it wasn't so effective. But in terms of getting kids to have language in their lungs, language in their ears, language on their lips, language in their throats, storytelling was what it is at. And we focused on that, and we did a bit of writing later. I totally agree. I think that
a lot of primary schools will have, and maybe English classrooms as well in secondary might have word of the day on the board or something like that. But you sort of need 2 or 3 words of the day, don't you?
this was introduced to me, and I was like, well, that sounds like nonsense. So our word of the day was cacophonous. And we all said it. Teacher said it. Children said it. My turn, cacophonous. Your turn, cacophonous. And when they were queuing up for lunch and a bit noisy, I'd say, oh, children, it's a bit cacophonous out here. You're like, well, that's really useful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every child needs to know. Well, I'll tell you what, they do need to know the word cacophonous, but only so they can get the joke in Asterix and Obelix. Other than that, you don't need to know it, do you? But by the way, excellent word off the thread. Just remembered Sir Essen Goblin, who is Ed, who lives in Cardiff, and who drinks a very nice pub, which is also like an art centre. It's amazing. Anyway, he gives us a Welsh word to enjoy.
Yeah.
Enjoy this word. Bendigedig.
Bendigedig.
Bendigedig. Benediction, which I think is really interesting. So it's a blessing, right? So you've got a Welsh word which certainly has a Latin root there. There's no way a blessing, which is bendigedig, is not a benediction, is there? I didn't know that the Welsh had nicked from Latinate languages, but they clearly have. Anyway, that's a great word.
Bendigedig. Yes, I've got the ones I bookmarked from the thread. I'm just going to quickly spool through. Richard Newbold has just mentioned scintillate, but then that's partly, it sounds so beautiful, unlike my memories of doing radioactive assays and measuring activity with the scintillation counter. Scintillate, scintillating.
A scintillation counter.
Yes, it is. It counts radioactive sort of beats on it's a bit like a Geiger counter sort of thing.
So does that come first? So if my conversation is scintillating, it's come from that way. It's come from spotting the radioactive beats in a reaction. Do you think? Is it that way around?
I think so. I can't remember what scintillation counters do.
It's the way light reflected off a blade or something. But
who's this? Mrs. K. Mrs. K _ sock sci, social sciences, presumably. I love the word plethora. Plethora is a good word. I like plethora. Plethora, I use that quite a lot, actually. Scrumptious, haberdashery, clinking, settle, palindrome, flounce.
Is Lucy listening in?
Lucy's listening in. She always is. Hello, good evening, Kate, as well. Good evening, others who've joined us after the news.
Particularly, Lucy dropped into the thread the word cobnuts. Now, I don't know if cobnuts is one word or two. I don't care. She says it sounds like swearing. Cobnuts.
Cobnuts.
That's the sort of thing you could say.
Cobnuts, governor.
If you would drop the top off your board pen and it rolled under a Gratnell's tray unit, and you needed to swear, but you were in front of children, you could say cobnuts, I think.
Cobnuts, it's good. Yeah, cobnuts is a good one. I like
British cobnuts. They're from around down your way. Do you?
We do have them religiously? There's a company that would go around all the Christmas fairs called Kentish Cobnuts, I think, and they make them they put them in sweet chili dressings and sauces and all sorts of weird stuff.
I want to go to the covered market and buy a bag of them. And then just munch my way through them. I don't want any chili dressing.
But cobnuts, good using. I use the word ferrets as a swear word. So, when I want to say, ferrets, obviously I'm wanting to say another word beginning with F, but ferrets or cobnuts. Yes, you can. I like substitute swear words, which and Maxim, I'd like to meet Maxim because he's just written in the chat, a secondary school report once described me as overly verbose. Not just verbose, but overly so. I'd like to have a verbosity off with you, Maxim, and I reckon I'll beat you. It depends what mood I'm in, mind you. But anyway, I can't keep going through the thread. I've got a couple more words that I wanted to mention. You talked about the bad writer just now with an M word. I can't remember what the M word was, who used it too much. And in a writer who I really, really like, who does throw in some words that, you have to go and look up in a dictionary, Boyd. I like William Boyd. And in his most recent novel, which I've spoken about on the show before, The Romantic, which I really enjoyed reading end of last year. And he used the word a little bit too much, but it is a fantastic word, and I've just used it in something I've written as well, vicissitudes. But then, is it a necessary word? Vicissitudes, the vicissitudes of life, but you could say the complexities of life, the I suppose. But then vicissitudes is
vicissitudes. They're not as complex, is it? It's,
not really. I suppose it's the challenges of life. Yes, but it's a great word. But he obviously enjoyed it, and it appeared quite a lot in this book, The Romantic. And so I think other ones I've mentioned. We talked about kerfuffle and cacophony. Sorry. You mentioned you liked plop. Someone said the word plop on the thread.
It's pleasing, isn't it? Plop.
Plop and we, plop and we, and
do we enjoy them because of our choices? So the person who first mentioned plop on the thread, I can't find it here, but the person who did said it's a joy to say. It's got that almost palindromic feel to it, with a p at the beginning, a p at the end, and also it's the name of a famous of a favourite owl. I don't know if you read The Owl Who's Afraid of the Dark. Do any of your children?
I have.
I remember
it, but I don't.
The first chapter I could read independently was The Hours, and I was very proud of myself. So plop has a special place for that. But which I mean, I guess at the end of the day, I think I enjoyed the word on the words for its own sake, but it has happy relevance to me, which makes me like it more. Speaking of which, Harry McClary from Donaldson's Dairy.
Yes, great words in there. And Anna, my youngest daughter. Anna, my youngest daughter, is now nearly 16. On the 6th of February, she'll become sweet 16, to quote Neil Sedaka. I call her Doofler. I call her Doofs. That is my name. It's stuck. I will be calling her Doofs for the rest of her life. I sometimes call her Anna, but and that comes from. Doesn't come directly, I don't think, from Harry Clarence, but there was a Bottomley Potts, and then I think I created this character Doofly Poots, and it's just a doofler is someone who sort of faffs around and is a little bit clumsy and sort of jangly, and Anna's quite lanky and tall.
Remember any of the dogs from there's Schnitzel von Krumm with a very
low tum, Harry McClary from Donaldson's Dairy.
Bits of Maloney,
there was Bits of Maloney, Bottomley Potts. There was definitely a Bottomley Potts. Bits of Maloney, all skinny and bony, so like a lurcher or something.
Come on, people! I'm looking in the chat. I want more of the dogs.
Other words, some sciencey words. I love the word amorphous. I've worked on amorphous is without form, not non-crystalline materials, non-crystalline solids. Amorphous glasses are amorphous. They don't have a crystalline lattice inside them. I like the word amorphous. It's good. It's a non-scientific term.
Solid, then, are they? That's the good thing.
No, exactly. They're supercooled liquids. Amorphous are more supercooled liquids than solids. A pure solid a true solid is a crystalline solid. Absolutely. Well done, Ed. Good knowledge of solid state chemistry there.
We did this a few weeks ago, but I was doing solids, liquids, and gases for the Earth 6s, and saying, it doesn't really count. Yeah, no, it's not crystalline. Doesn't really count. Turns
I get annoyed.
What you think it means, at least in the science classroom, solid does not mean solid.
Oh, I get very annoyed with Key Stage 2, the CGP Key Stage 2 science book. Cheese is an example of a solid. Well, not the best cheese.
Not in science, it ain't.
Cheese ain't a bloody solid. Sponge, another one.
Stinking Bishop. Stinking Bishop is not a solid, is it?
Not some really, really, really right brie as well. It's like you're on it right. Anyway, that's it. I think. Can I say one or two words, and then you're going to play a song, Ed? One or two words from Susie Dent's emotional dictionary that I just stumbled across. Circumbendibus. Circumbendibus, a pointless circular exercise or debate, which is pretty much our radio shows. A circumbendibus is not, as you might think, an articulated bus, but like an accordion, rather like circumlocution. It's a sort of in which someone goes round and round the same point, much like in Parliament. A circumbendibus, or an interview with a politician, is a 17th century term for an entirely circular argument that never gets to the point and whose emotional impact is to induce acute frustration in its audience. I thought that was a good, interesting, fun word. Gong-goozle, to stare vacantly at the activity of others. Gong-goozle. Gong-goozle. And
do you think it's a real word? Hercules pots.
Do
you think those are real words that people really use? Sometimes I look at those Susie Dent words and I think, Susie, I'm not saying you're making them up, but I wonder if somebody did. Obviously somebody made them up. They're words.
Yeah.
Somebody made them up.
Oh, they're not readily used, are they? No. Oh, here, the final one. Gosh bustified, excessively pleased. America in the 1830s was the place to be if you were a word lover. The decade saw an explosion of fancy coinages, obscure abbreviations, and all-round linguistic exuberance. Good word, exuberance, I think. Only a handful of creations from the time are with us still. However, among them, the glorious skedaddle. We mentioned that earlier on. Skedaddle. We must skedaddle soon, mustn't we, Ed? We are overrunning. Many more fell by the wayside, including gosh bustified, a fanciful mishmash that meant excessively pleased or satisfied. And I'm excessively pleased with our discussion about words this week. And it's now time for you to play us out with a song which we both like very much, I think.
You can join in.
Looking up the words.
Yo, pretty ladies around the world, I got a weird thing to show you, so tell the boys and girls, tell your brother, your sister and your mama too. We're about to go down and you know just what to do. Wave your hands in the air like you don't care. Glide by the people as they start to look and stare. Do your dance, do your dance, do your dance quick.
Dance quick, mama. Come on, baby. What's the word?
Word up! Everybody say when you hear the call, you gotta get it underway. Word up!
Word up!
It's the code word, no matter where you say it, you know that you'll be heard. Now all you sucker DJs who think you're fly, there's got to be a reason, and we know the reason why. Try to put on those airs and to act real cool. You got to realize that you're acting like a if it's music, we can use it, be free to dance. We don't have the time for psychological romance.
No romance.
Mama, come on, baby, tell me, what's the word? Word up. Everybody say when you hear the call, you gotta get it underway. Word up. It's the code word. No matter where you say it, you know that you'll be heard. That's all there is of that. We can do the chorus in a little bit, and if you join in, all the people out there in Radioland getting ready to do the chorus, here we go. 1, 2, 3, word up.
Everybody say when you hear the call, you gotta get it underway. Word up. It's a code.
No matter where you say it, you know that you'll be heard.
Word up.
Word up.
Okay, it's a great song.
Is it a ukulele song? Do you think? Was it born to be a ukulele song, or
it's the don't cameo? It was quite. They were a bit sort of electronic, really, weren't they? They were.
They weren't. It wasn't really a ukulele song originally in its original, but I think I got away with it.
It was covered. It was covered by a band called Gun, who I saw supporting Simple Minds at Wembley Stadium in 1989.
I think Korn covered it. It may have been much covered because it is a terrific song with a lovely sentiment and some great wordplay. So well done Cameo for that, I'd say.
Well, I've really enjoyed our chat about words, and I think we're on to a winner here, Ed. I mean, words is obviously that we need to just come up with a theme
next week.
Next week, I know it's not going to be as exciting.
What's your favourite number? And is there a number that makes your skin crawl? And we'll just spend about an hour reading that thread to the people. Is this going to be our best ever? You know, is this going to be like, wow, 500 people listen to that one in a week? Or
I don't think. I mean, numbers aren't quite as mellifluous as words, are they? But
what about the beauty of the music of the primes?
Well,
Somewhere
exactly.
in this house, probably in a cardboard box, possibly in the garage, I've got a dictionary of interesting numbers, which is like.
And if we're talking about primes, it'll give us the excuse to be able to say Eratosthenes over and over again. The Greek mathematician.
People could suggest songs with numbers in, and there's a lot of them. So that would be
There's a lot of them, and number songs, and also we could, if we wanted to, I'm not sure we do, but we could link numbers to maths, and then the Rishi Sunak statement about everyone studying maths to 18. Because I wrote a blog about it as well. So we could spend
poetry. Shall I take that tack? We could play nice and nasty, like on my Jeremy Vine show thing, where they just like lazy people. You be nice, I'll be nasty. Off we go. You'll be like, maths is the most beautiful language in all the world. I'll be like, you're killing poetry. You're killing the children. We could get an hour out of that easy.
We could. But we'll definitely talk about numbers and maybe a little bit of whether maths should be compulsory until 18 and if it is compulsory till 18, and in what guise and what form and what does that mean, and unpick that a little bit as well as talking about numbers. Because there we go.
Could do 99 Red Balloons. Great song.
Are you doing that now? Oh, next week, 99 Red Balloons. Okay.
I'm going to keep my powder dry for that one.
Yes, good idea. I love that song, actually. I liked Nina, particularly when she revealed when she revealed her proud natural armpit hair. It was rather marvelous. I liked that.
What? Don't even get into that, mate. I won't be able to contain myself. I think it might be time to ring off and say
it is time to ring off.
Lovely people in Radio Land. So thank you for listening. If you did, and if you didn't, that's understandable and entirely forgivable.
And thank you very much to those of you who listen back, not live, as well. We hope you enjoyed the show too. We will be back next week with numbers. Take care, everybody. Skedaddling now.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.